All right, folks, welcome in. I'm Jake Ellenbogen. This is JE Live, and today we're going to be talking about Tre Brown, who is the new Ram. Just picked him up today. Ahkello Witherspoon is heading over to IR due to a broken clavicle. They said 12 weeks. I wouldn't be surprised if he came back sooner than that. But we speculated all yesterday, and I mean, we talked about all sorts of names. We talked about in-house names, Cam Lampkin, AJ Green. We talked about Sean Jolly on the speed dial. We talked about Stephon Gilmore, Kendall Fuller, Michael Davis, Emmanuel Mosley. You guys asked about Asante Samuel Jr., and they have decided to go into the direction of a former Seahawk and 49er, Tre Brown. So, the entire purpose of going live is to get this thing out as soon as possible. Instead of me just sitting here making a video, you guys are watching the video. That said, if you have any comments, questions, concerns, be sure to put them in the comments section. And of course, if you want to drop a super chat, those will always be read on the show. So wanted to first start off by saying this. The Rams had to make a move. They didn't have to go out and get somebody that was top notch, but they had to make a move. They didn't have to go out and get a number one corner, but they had to make a move. There was only 3 corners on the roster. They view Josh Wallace as more of a safety, and so they had to. I'm a little surprised they didn't trust their depth and decide to go with AJ Green, But Tre Brown's an interesting pickup here, and I'm not going to sit here and act like he's the greatest thing since sliced bread because he's not. He's had some issues. He's given up touchdowns, but there is some good stuff here. So let's take us back a little bit, okay? Ahkello Witherspoon, originally drafted by the 49ers, goes to Seattle, has a cup of coffee with them before he's traded to the Steelers, and then he goes to the Rams, ends up being really good for them. Well, Tre Brown is kind of interesting. You're talking about a guy who was a 4th-round pick, 137th overall by the Seahawks out of Oklahoma. I watched plenty of him in the Big 12, as you can see the Kansas banner in the back. I am a Kansas football fan, even though that sounds like a rarity. You guys probably know that by now, but I've been watching Tre Brown for a while. So, with that said, he was drafted in 2021. Now, he was with the Seahawks, and then this past year, he signed with the San Francisco 49ers. So I have some numbers here. I did some research, obviously. I watched some tape on him. I can see why they're interested in him. He's 27 years old. He is coming off an injury. He was placed on IR in late August after he suffered a heel injury in training camp. But he ended up agreeing to an injury settlement earlier this month with the 49ers that made him available. That's probably why I just totally didn't even have him on my radar. Didn't realize that. So he was a free agent waiting, and the Rams decided to go out and get him. So he has familiarity with the 49ers, the Seahawks. Maybe he can provide something there. But when you look at his stint with the Seahawks, and that was 4 years, you talk about a guy that, really was good in the spot starter role that he had. I mean, he wasn't the best, and he did give up touchdowns, but he showed you some promise. You talk about 8 pass breakups, 2 interceptions, 74 tackles. He took a touchdown back in 2023. He had 39 games and started 13 of those 39 in his first 4 seasons in Seattle. They had a good DB room, no doubt about it. So he wasn't going to get on the field all the time. But when he did, he made his presence felt, I would say, to a degree. That said, his targeted passer rating was in the 60s in zone coverage in 2023. Very notable there. He was also the number 3 corner in preseason this year. So he only played 1 game, to be fair. But he was the number 3 corner in preseason. So that's worth bringing up, according to PFF. Now, also according to PFF, while he had a targeted passer rating in the 60s, PFF also rated him the number 1 press coverage corner back in 2023. He had a 88.5 grade. As they worded it, Brown was a sporadic starter for the Seahawks. He had an 88.5 press coverage grade, which is the best in the NFL. Despite his size, Brown has made a name off his physicality at the line of scrimmage, looking to turn every battle into a dogfight. Across 145 press snaps, Brown was targeted just 22 times and allowed a 59.1% completion percentage. He might not be a household name, but Brown snagged 2 interceptions, forced 5 incompletions in press coverage, routinely made life harder for opposing quarterbacks and receivers. This is interesting here. And the reason it's interesting is because, one, I think the Rams really just wanted the physicality there. They have a guy that can run a 4.4, and, he has the physicality to go with it. Now, some people are wondering probably like, okay, so you lost 6'3", 6'4", Ahkello Witherspoon, 205, 210. What are you replacing him with? And really, this guy, I would say, and I'm not saying he's on the level of him, but he's cut from the same cloth as a DJ Reed. And that's how I look at it, right? I feel like he's very similar to that type of player. I'm not calling him DJ Reed. DJ Reed's a baller, but DJ Reed also did play for the Seahawks and the 49ers. 5'10", $185. Trey Brown is going to play with his hair on fire. Okay, he's a physical corner. Here's the issue, though, and let's be honest here. Okay, press coverage is nice. It's good to have that, but the Rams don't play a ton of press coverage. They play it sparingly every now and then. They're not dominated by press coverage with this defense. So I think really what they're looking for here, the entire point of this, is to go out and get a physical corner who has speed and could, if need be, make some plays on the outside if needed. Again, he is the 4th cornerback. He's probably not even going to play this week, right? If he does, then we're in for some trouble. But I actually like the pickup because on one hand, yes, it would have been nice to get a guy like Kendall Fuller or, for some people, Stephon Gilmore, whatever. I get that. But the Rams are telling you by signing a guy like Trey Brown, they like who he is. He's 27. They like the tools, right? They like the things that he adds. They like his athleticism. They like his physicality. But make no mistake about it. This guy is not replacing Ahkello Witherspoon. They're telling you straight up Ahkello Witherspoon is the number 1 corner on this team. And when he returns, he will return to his role. That's what they're telling you. They're telling you that they weren't willing to go out and get somebody to overwrite the job that Ahkello does. So that's how I look at it. And to be fair to Ahkello Witherspoon, 3rd-ranked cornerback in man coverage this year. D. Will's 4th, by the way, per PFF. And Durant is 4th in zone. Forbes is 18th in man. Their secondary has been really good. Their corners have been really good. Don't listen to anybody tell you that their corners haven't been good. I mean, that's preposterous. You go up against Nico Collins. You go up against Jaden Higgins. You go up against Calvin Ridley. I mean, Jaden Higgins isn't really proven, but he's talented. We all talked about him on this channel. That said, Nico Collins, right? Nico Collins and Calvin Ridley are 2,000-yard receivers in their own right. Those guys are explosive. Those guys can make you pay. So I actually really do like this pickup because what it tells you, it signifies Ahkello's place on this roster. It tells you that he'll be back. It tells you that they are not trying to replace him. It tells you that they weren't bullshitting you when they said, we have 4 starting corners. If you believed that for a second, then you wouldn't have gone out and gotten a big name. And they didn't. They got Trey Brown, a 4th rounder in 2021, who has shown signs of being really physical and being a problem, being feisty. And that's what they wanted. And I think he makes sense for that reason. I think the signing is underrated. I think people are going to look at this and say, he sucks. I think people are going to look at this and say, this isn't who I want, and I don't want him. And I would just remind you that, one, he doesn't suck, right? He doesn't, because why would the Rams go out and get him if he sucked? But two, I would also tell you this is a guy that has actually had some success in this league. He started games. The Seahawks just picked up a guy who had started the same amount of games around that, right? As a Trey Brown. That some people would say he sucks. Well, do you know who that was? Darius Williams. Or not Darius Williams. Darion Kendrick. Darion Kendrick just balled out for the Seahawks. Balled out. So make no mistake about it. Sometimes you find talent where you least expect it. And I think that this is a good move for the Rams because it doesn't commit them to anything crazy. And it does give them somebody that can help them defensively, can help them in the depth department. It shores up their depth, but it also doesn't take away the confidence that you instilled in an Emmanuel Forbes. It doesn't take away the confidence that you have in this cornerback room. It doesn't. And I see people talking about, Trey's injuries, and that's fair. Absolutely fair. In 2024, he had 290 snaps. And in 2023, he had 603. Now, the thing that I'm most concerned about when it comes to Trey is if he actually ends up starting games. He did give up 3 touchdowns last year, which is a lot in 290 snaps. And he gave up 3 touchdowns the year prior, although he had 2 interceptions. He's also very physical, so he can be called for some penalties. But I like the move because he doesn't have to be anything amazing. This isn't Madden. This isn't you stacking the 4 best cornerbacks in the league because you can. It's good to have role players. And Trey Brown is a role player. That's what he's going to do. He's going to fill in a role. He doesn't have to play all the time, but when he does, he's a guy that's feisty enough that can add a little something. In addition to that, he's a solid special teamer too. So I think this has just as much to do with special teams as it does what happens if anybody goes down. I mean, rated the number 1 press coverage corner by PFF was saying a lot. But I will say this. I don't think the door's closed on an AJ Green. I don't think the door's closed on a Cam Lampkin. I expect one of those guys to be elevated on game day. And probably one of those guys elevated on game day probably is ahead of Trey Brown on the depth chart because Brown doesn't know the defense. He might have ideas of it, but he doesn't know the defense. And I mean, to be fair, there is some intel. I'm not saying he's going to have a ton of it, but he was a part of the 49ers. He was a part of the Seattle Seahawks. He was a part of last year's defense. He played in the last game of the year against the LA Rams. They saw him. The Rams saw Trey Brown last year against the Rams. So that was the last game he ever played for Seattle, was against the Rams, ironically enough. In that game, he gave up 2 catches on 2 targets for 32 yards. And apparently they like him. And my thing is, I like the physicality. I do. So we're going to find out, man. But I think this is a smart move. I'm not saying, again, don't misunderstand what I'm saying. I'm not calling him the greatest thing ever or anything like that. But what I am saying is that this is a good pickup. I think it's definitely fair to say it's a good pickup. It reminds me of Duke Shelley. You guys remember Duke Shelley? Duke Shelley, right? Yeah, Lee, Sean McVay isn't just not going to coach. The plantar fascia, he can still coach. It's, I'm not worried about him coaching. It kind of sucks for him, but I'm not worried about it. I'm sure he's not worried about it. But anyway, yeah, no worries on that one. But Duke Shelley, I could not remember his name yesterday for whatever reason, but Duke Shelley had some good moments. And I think he's similar to the Duke Shelley pickup in 2023. Ironically, that was I believe Kobe got hurt or someone got hurt and he had to start some games. But keep this in mind, guys. They could only go after certain guys. They can only go after certain corners, because the reason I say that is the way that they play their defense with the star, as I said multiple times yesterday. They can't just go out and get a slot corner. because Quentin Lake is the slot corner by definition. So it wasn't as simple as just go out and get one of the best nickel corners in the game because think about this, right? Kenny Moore is one of the best nickel corners in football, right? And there are guys like Kenny Moore. Mike Hilton is one of them, right? There's some really good nickel corners. But nickel corners have to have a completely different skill set as opposed to playing the boundary. And I think oftentimes what we tend to not realize, because typically speaking, like a Nickel Roby-Coleman, right? 5'7", 5'8", what have you, he's playing nickel. But what we don't realize is that just because a guy is shorter doesn't mean he's necessarily the perfect fit for nickel. And Tre Brown is only 5'10", 186. But he can play on the outside. He's physical. What if I told you that Tre Brown in 2023 only played 11 snaps in the slot? 554 of his 628 were on the outside. He only played 6 snaps in the slot last year. 277 on the outside out of 391. And then in preseason, he did not play a snap in the slot. 20 out of his 31 snaps in general. We're talking special teams, everything. 20 out of his 31 came from the outside. So this is what the Rams were doing. They believe in Josh Wallace and of course, Quentin Lake. But what they weren't going to do is go out there, and I mentioned this multiple times yesterday because there were some guys that I really liked, like a Beanie Bishop. Beanie Bishop would have been a great pickup because of just his skill set. I believe he could play inside-outside. I do. But typically speaking, he's only been a slot guy. That's too much of a projection. That was me liking the fit and the player, but the reality is he's never really played on the outside extensively. So the Rams probably didn't even consider him. Corey Ballentine, that I brought up, Patriots, really good special teamer, has experience starting on the outside. That's a corner that I thought that they could look at. Miles Bryant, inside-outside versatility, guy that they could look at, right? Kalen King, Kobe Bryant, Emmanuel Mosley, I brought him up, ACL issues, but if he could stay healthy, he could maybe play on the outside. Michael Davis, 6'2", boundary corner, good tackler, length, could play on the outside. Kendall Fuller, inside-outside versatility, really smart, football savvy. I think what I will say is this. If Sean McVay and the Rams were really worried about this team, if Sean McVay and the Rams were concerned about this cornerback room, if Sean McVay and the Rams totally just BS'd us about the cornerback room, then I'll tell you right now, if that was the case, they probably would have signed Kendall Fuller. Because when push comes to shove, being able to lean on familiar faces is always the move. They've done this countless times. They brought back Sony Michel. He ended up retiring. They wanted to bring back a familiar face. They brought back Malcolm Brown, right? They brought back Ahkello Witherspoon. They brought back Darrell Henderson. They brought back plenty of guys in the past. Because when push comes to shove and the going gets tough, John Johnson, teams typically will go with their familiar faces. The guys I call on speed dial. And you guys are probably like, Kendall Fuller? He was never on the Rams. You're right. But Kendall Fuller was on, at the time, the Washington Redskins when Sean McVay was there. He knows Kendall Fuller. And Chris Shula, I believe, was on that team. And I also believe Aubrey Pleasant was on that team. So I think if it was as bad as could be, Okello's out for the year. If that's the case, if they don't trust the cornerbacks, then I think Kendall Fuller is a Ram right now. But the Rams did not feel like they had to go crazy, go big name, or go home. They found somebody that they liked, and they're like, all right, let's do it. So now the Rams cornerbacks in the building. You have starting cornerback. I'm telling you this right now. CB1 is going to be Darius Williams. CB2 is going to be Kobe Durant. CB3 is going to be Emmanuel Forbes. CB4, while it might feel like it's going to be Trey Brown, I think they're going to elevate AJ Green on game day, and I think AJ Green will be CB4. Trey Brown, CB5, and then if they do elevate another corner, then it would be the only other corner on the roster, Cameron Lampkin. Well, what about Josh Wallace? As I've said, Josh Wallace is a safety. The Rams did not play him at cornerback at any point in the preseason, and they didn't do it last week either. He is a safety. He is going to essentially be viewed as a safety slash star, which is basically a slot. They're telling us how they feel about him. So, yeah. I mean, I think you got to feel good about where the Rams are at right now. They were quick to make this move. They got some depth. They still have guys on the practice squad. And they feel like they currently have 3 starting corners. Now, some people will ask, Jake, why do you have Emmanuel Forbes not starting after he started last week? Okello went down, not Forbes, right? You're right. But Ahkello Witherspoon, I've been saying, is their best corner. The Rams told you this. Darius Williams was CB4. But guess what? Darius Williams, after Ahkello went down, became their best corner. He's the most reliable. He's the most proven. And he's the one that I trust to be the number 1 corner with Ahkello out. Kobe is really, really good in zone. But when you need to man up, that's when you want Darius Williams out there. And Darius Williams, I would imagine, is going to likely be shadowing. I think they'll keep him at left corner, so he's going to be shadowing Devontae Smith. Maybe they move him around, but I think he's going to be shadowing Devontae Smith. A.J. Brown will probably be up against Kobe. Kobe's their big playmaker. He finds the ball. He gets the ball. And then I think Emmanuel Forbes will rotate. But I don't believe Emmanuel Forbes is going to start now. I think he did a nice job of playing off of Ahkello because Ahkello can take an entire side of the field away. And if we're still going to debate that, then I'll just hit you with the stats. Because he had everybody that he went up against in a blender. That includes Justin Jefferson, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Jordan Addison. That includes Nico Collins. Absolutely had him in a blender. So that's the thing. You're losing a really, really good player here. But I believe that we're going to see Kobe and Darius starting. Now, if we see Forbes and I'm wrong, I believe Darius is going to start over Kobe and Kobe will rotate. That's what I believe is going to happen. They want Darius Williams out there. There's no doubt about it. They want Darius Williams out there. I mean, it makes sense. They didn't have him against Houston. They felt like they had a good matchup there. And they believe in Forbes' potential, and it's hard not to. But let's be honest here. They are going to make sure that the most proven corner on the team is out there against a really tough Eagles team. So we'll see. We'll see what ends up coming of it. But yeah, it should be interesting. That's for damn sure. It does. Losing Ahkello absolutely stinks right now. It's not great, but this is exactly what I've been preaching all year. It's why I said it before the season started. I believe that this is the best Rams roster in the Sean McVay era. This is the best iteration of the Rams in the Sean McVay era. How can I say that? No Aaron Donald, no Todd Gurley. I understand people are going to say that. No Von Miller, no OBJ, no Cooper Kupp. I'm telling you, it's not necessarily about the starting 22. Because the starting 22 that has been out there since 2017, they're always really good. The only bad team was 2022 because of the injuries. But the Rams have always fielded a starting 22 capable of going and winning playoff games, if not the Super Bowl entirely. The thing with this roster that sets it apart is that this depth is better than they've ever had. This is the best quarterback room they've had in the McVay era. The running back room is really good. The wide receiver room is really deep. I mean, you're seeing Xavier Smith go out there. You're seeing, and now some people might interpret that as they're not that deep. Why is Xavier Smith playing? He's playing because he's that good. He's taken that step. Why is Konate Mumpfield on the roster? Because he took that step. He's that good. Why do you think Jordan Whittington is playing more snaps than Atwell? Because they, my friends, snagged Jordan Whittington. He was the steal. He is a huge steal from last year's draft. And then you're telling me I get Adams and I get Puka Nacua. Puka Nacua is the best receiver in the league right now. I don't know if that will continue. I don't know how long this is going to keep going. Puka Nacua right now is the best receiver in the league right now. And I want to say this. When it comes to this, right? I'm going to tell you right now. When you look at this wide receiver room, they have one weapon to attack every type of defense they will see. Think about this. You have Puka Nacua, right? Who is just an absolute zone crusher. He is built to destroy zone defenses. You know why? Because he's going to find the soft spot in said zone, and then you're not going to be able to tackle him because he's just as strong as anybody that's trying to tackle him. And then you have your man beater. And that is Davante Adams, who can destroy man coverage. So you got those two. Then you got Tutu Atwell, who is the deep threat, the speed threat, the gadget threat. I think he's going to have a big game against the Eagles. I do. If you watch that Chiefs game, you can see Patrick Mahomes, no one's going to talk about it. Media won't talk about it. It doesn't fit a narrative. Patrick Mahomes missed a few guys that were wide open. I've been telling you guys since day one this year, you can throw on this Eagles secondary. You can. You can absolutely throw on this Eagles secondary. Did you see Tyquan Thornton, who was wide open earlier in the game? Mahomes missed him, and then he was wide open again, and Mahomes hit him, and all anybody was talking about is when Mahomes hit him. Well, what about the time where Mahomes missed him? That was twice. Their speed threat was wide open. No one anywhere near him twice down the field. Think about that. You don't think Tutu Atwell can do that? You don't think Jordan Whittington can do that? I didn't even get to Jordan Whittington. Whittington can block like he's Nacua, like he's Kupp. He is a great blocker. He's also like a Deebo Samuel type of guy, but he's actually good at running routes. He can beat you on a double move. He is incredibly explosive, and he's got great hands. They haven't used these guys really yet. They haven't had to. They will have all hands on deck against the Philadelphia Eagles, against the Baltimore Ravens, against the Indianapolis Colts. These next 4 games, they're going to start really unlocking the offense. I'm telling you that right now. So, wide receiver room looks great. They have plenty of depth. They have plenty of depth at tight end. The offensive line isn't as good as years past for starters-wise because you don't have Andrew Whitworth, but it's still really damn good. And you have depth there. Defensive line, even without Aaron Donald, this defensive line is one of the best they've ever had. The depth is fantastic. Desjuan Johnson isn't even, he's a healthy scratch, and he should probably be playing. That's how deep they are. This is probably my favorite linebacker room they've had in some time. Now, you could argue when they had Corey Littleton or an Ernest Jones, Bobby Wagner, but this linebacker room is really good. And then you look at the corners, and do they have a Jalen Ramsey? No. They don't have Jalen Ramsey. And I know Kello's out, but this is a really good cornerback room. I've been saying it. This is probably my favorite safety room they've had, period. You talk about the same thing for wide receivers as safeties. Their wide receiver room can beat you over the head in every single type of fashion. They have every club in the bag. If you're a golf fan, if you play golf, then you understand the analogy. Like, they have every club in the bag. They got the driver. They got the, 7-iron, whatever. They got the sand wedge. They got the putter. They have every club in the bag when it comes to the wide receivers because they can attack any type of defense. And I see it. Brandon is mentioning how they still haven't unleashed T-Ferg yet. You're absolutely right. But then the safeties are like the inverse of the receivers. Quentin Lake can just shut down in the slot. He could just absolutely shut one dude down. He's been great. He just had his best game of his career. I have no doubt about it. I know PFF graded him as such, but I think on tape, you could see he looks like he's getting much better. Cameron Curl can lay the wood. He can also cover. Cameron Kinchins can be your ball hawk. He can also tackle. He led the team in tackles last week. Then you have Tank McCullough, who can be your kind of Swiss Army knife blitz package guy. They have a safety and a wide receiver in their arsenal to attack any situation at any given point. And that, my friends, is why, despite losing their number one cornerback in week 2, I still believe this is the best iteration of the Rams that we have seen in the Sean McVay era. It is a special team, so buckle up. I think, and it was hard for me because I keep going back and forth, but I think I'm going to go with the Rams beating the Philadelphia Eagles this week. And I did not have them winning this game initially. But I've seen the Eagles. I saw how they kept the Dallas Cowboys in that game. They dominated the game. Didn't look close, and then the Cowboys had a chance to win said game. And I saw them against the Chiefs, and I don't think the Chiefs are that great. And I did not love the way they played against the Chiefs. And I think their bully ball, game manager mentality, I don't think it works against the Rams. So Saquon Barkley is going to have to run like the wind if they want to win this game. Their offense has been stagnant. Now, obviously, it'll probably wake itself up, and they'll probably look the best that they've been all year because it's against the Rams. But let's just say they don't. Let's just say they look exactly how they've looked the last 2 weeks. The Rams could win pretty easily if that's what we get. Because the thing about the Rams this year is that they can stop the run. The thing about the Rams this year is that they have depth all over the place. The thing about the Rams this year is they have a true X receiver. They have a man beater. They have a zone beater. They have a deep threat. They have a utility guy. They have a run game. They have an offensive line. There's a chance Steve Avila is going to play. Okay? Eagles' defensive line is still very good. It's not better than last year with Milton Williams. It's not better than last year with Josh Sweat. Trust me, they got some guys. We'll get into it over the course of the week. I'm excited to. But this isn't last year's defense the Rams faced. No Darius Slay has weakened this secondary. You can throw on this secondary. So I'm telling you right now, the way Matthew Stafford's playing, I mean, he just went up against 2 really good defenses. If you didn't see last night, the Texans' defense is for real. The Texans are probably one of the better 0-2 teams out there, if not the best 0-2 team out there. And the Titans, They forced 6 turnovers on the Broncos. 6. The Titans are for real defensively. And the Rams just dropped 33 and could have had over 40 points. Trust me, I feel really good about this game all of a sudden. Not all of a sudden, it's just actions speak louder than words. And the Rams' actions have me believing that they're in really good positioning. So with that said, I just want to let you guys know about something that became an opportunity, and I think it's pretty cool. There is this... how many of you, put in the comments section, how many of you use Google Chrome? I'm very curious. I only use Google Chrome. I guess I'm a bad Mac user because I don't use Safari. I only use it on my phone because I'm forced to. But I actually really have always liked Google Chrome. I have. And there is a Google Chrome extension called Swivel. If you guys are on computer right now, you can go and get it. The link is in the chat. I just pinned it. And I'm proud to team up with Swivel because the coolest thing is if you ever open up a Google Chrome tab, what you're going to see is, you'll have like the recommended stuff if you have bookmarks, whatever. So this Google Chrome tab essentially allows you to open this thing up and right away you can see all of my videos here. And you can follow on Swivel. There are other things that you can follow. You can follow the actual Rams page. You could follow the Dodgers, what have you, right? This is my Yankees Unloaded page for my Yankees podcast. But the point being is literally you just scroll down here from Google on the landing page and you have your own page. And for people that always are like, hey, I missed your video or whatever, you can find it all here. For people that are like, hey, I didn't know you were on Instagram, you can find it here. For people like, oh, hey, where are you on X? You can find it here. Oh, how about this? You got NFC West Roundtable right here. You got, TikTok, right? Man, these are old. But the point being is that this page is on Swivel, and you guys can get it right now for free. You'll never miss Rams content, and it'll just kind of be a reminder to you. If and it's not just for me. I mean, there are other pages that you can add to this thing. So if you want to get in on the action, be sure to use that link pinned in the chat. And let me know if you're going to download it. I love Google Chrome personally. That is the one that I use. So, I highly recommend it. And I'm excited to be working with Swivel because I think they do some really good stuff. And I think it's definitely worth checking out. So if you're one of those people that's always wondering, hey, when the hell's this happening? When's this happening? Whatever. Well, there you go. Swivel for you. Check that out. Again, pinned in the chat, and let me know if you do sign up today. All right. So we got that, and we got Dom with the 5. Side question. Why was everyone talking about the Williams contract extension during offseason, but no one was talking about a possible Lake extension? It's interesting. I think because Williams just actually, that was being talked about. That was, what was out there. Williams was looking for an extension, what have you. Quentin Lake, I think I've heard that they were working on something with him, but working on something doesn't mean it's going to get done. And we know the Rams, and we know that they don't pay safeties. They just don't. They paid LaMarcus Joyner. I think that's the only safety that they paid. Let me know if I'm wrong. But they paid LaMarcus Joyner, and yeah, they paid Oshimego Otagwe back in St. Louis. He was actually supposed to be on, I think, the first season of Sean McVay. Yeah, Oshimego Otagwe's contract, I think, would have ended on the first season of Sean McVay. So, yeah, I think he lasted 2 years. But LaMarcus Joyner, Oshimego Otagwe, they don't really pay safeties. John Johnson got a 1-year deal, but they let him go to the Browns when he needed to get the extension. Maurice Alexander, They ended up cutting him the first year of Sean McVay. He was a starter, and then they cut him halfway through, and John Johnson took over. Yeah, John Johnson never got paid by the Rams. And when I say paid, I mean like actually paid. Ahkello Witherspoon has never been paid by the Rams. Does that mean that he literally has never gotten money from the Rams? No. But it means that they never signed him to a multi-year deal, which he deserves, which John Johnson deserved. So yeah, I'm very curious. I mean, Quentin Lake, Cam Curl, they did end up signing Cam Curl to a multi-year deal. That's the intriguing part. I don't know. Quentin Lake is a team captain. I love Cam Curl. I'm hoping they could work something out, but I know this team and they just don't pay safeties. So I'm not holding my breath on that. But that was a great question. But yeah, I'm not holding my breath on Cameron Curl and Quentin Lake getting a contract extension, since they just notoriously do not pay safeties. I don't know why. They just don't pay them. So, yeah. And they don't really pay linebackers either. I mean, Bobby Wagner was like a wow. You weren't really seeing that. That was a little surprising. Who's the other one? I'm totally blanking. Yeah, no, it was Bobby Wagner, and they didn't pay Ernest Jones. Yeah. I feel like they will pay Landman. I do. Because you can always call Weddle. You're right. Laurinaitis, they did pay. Yeah, they did. They paid Chris Long, too, I believe. But, yeah, I mean, we'll see what ends up happening there. Dexter Coakley. Man, that's a name. I remember him like it was yesterday. So real quick, before we head on out of here, and I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. This has been fun. It's always hard to leave when you have over 400 people, but if I don't leave now, I never will. Will Witherspoon, that's a good pickup, by the way. Good name. Will Witherspoon, fun fact, had, I think it was 2005, he had 18 tackles. Nate Landman has tied the most tackles in Rams history for a linebacker from what I saw today, with 18 in his first 2 games with Will Witherspoon. So loved Witherspoon. They got him from Carolina. Was a big fan of his. But yeah. Hell yeah. Jack got in on it. Yeah, Swivel's cool, man. It's a cool idea. It's like you can just scroll down on your Google default page when you're opening up a new tab and it's just there. That's what I love about it. So really cool stuff. Again, it's for, anybody can join. It's free. So yeah. Trumaine Johnson they paid. Well, no, they never paid him. They just gave him they paid him a lot of money, but they gave him the franchise tag. Janoris Jenkins, they didn't. That was surprising. But Trumaine had a really good year. Was it that 2016? He was really good. Or was it 2015? I forget. He had a really good year where plenty of interceptions, really good coverage, and Mark Barron was a beast. Yeah, I think they paid Mark Barron, but Mark Barron was also a linebacker after they moved him from safety. So, yeah, it's interesting. A lot of names. 2015. That was it. Who did we get? So they got Trey Brown, Eckert. They got Trey Brown. So, just so you know that. Overall, guys, I like the move. Again, I'm not saying that he's going to be the greatest thing since sliced bread. I know I said that earlier, but for the new people that are hopping in here, I like the move. It's a depth piece. It's a guy that's physical. It's a guy that has tools. He's fast. I like it. Appreciate you, Ruiz. Yeah, Swivel's cool. It updates twice a day, so you'll see my content on there. And you can check out, you can add other tabs. It's great. I can't forget about Cortland Finnegan. Now can we? I remember Cortland Finnegan for one play and one play only. When he pissed off Joshua Morgan so much, Morgan spiked the ball. I believe it was a 15-yard penalty. Took the Redskins out of... It was RG3's first game against the Rams. Week 2. It took the Redskins out of field goal range, and they missed the field goal. Ron Bartel. Yeah. I don't know if anybody's going to shout out AJ Brown. I think they're just they might rotate, but I'm expecting D Will to play left corner and be on Devontae Smith. So, all right. Before we head out of here, here is our sponsor, Sleeper. You see them in the right-hand corner of every video. It's because they sponsor the channel, and they're awesome. And I only use Sleeper. I use Sleeper for my fantasy football, my dynasty, whether it's NBA, NFL. But Sleeper also has daily fantasy. And so you can use my code JKB and get a $100 deposit match up to $100. And I highly recommend this because there's a lot of you that are always throwing out, oh, I think Kyron's going to score. I think, Blake Corum's going to score. Well, put it where it is, right? Get in on the action. Put your money where your mouth is. Like, stop throwing out good takes and not getting anything for it. If you think Blake Corum is going to have more yards than, whatever that ends up being, then go for it. And you can make a lot of money. A lot. You can win big. So be sure to check out, get in on the action. Again, really appreciate, I appreciate Sleeper big time. It's always fun using Sleeper. It's also, I'm a big believer in having a good UI. For those of you who don't know, user interface. And I'll tell you right now, nothing turns me off more than when I go on an app and I just can't even use it. It's ads everywhere, whatever. It's just pop-ups and no. Sleeper's got an incredible app that you can gamecast on. You can make these picks on. You can follow your fantasy team. You can draft. I mean, it's great. So definitely check it out if you haven't already. Link is in the description below. And of course, JKB is that code. So yeah. Sleeper, shout out to you as always. So that's going to do it for us. I really do appreciate you guys showing up, showing out. I know a Tuesday stream at 2:50. Well, we started at 2 basically. It's ending around 2:50. But, a stream at this point to get, almost over 400 people in here, it's really cool. At once, of course. We've had almost 2,000 views. It's NFL season. I appreciate it. It's Eagles hate week. I'm just kidding. It's Eagles week. We don't have to hate, but Eagles week. So I'm looking forward to this. We're going to have plenty of stuff on the channel, of course. This is probably not going to be the only thing I do tonight. As a matter of fact, it's not going to be the only thing I do tonight. But before you head out, be sure to hit the thumbs up button. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already and leave a comment. But the last thing I will say, I have unfortunate news. Downtown Rams is being moved to Friday and Friday only this week. Unfortunately, we aren't able to do an episode today. It's just not going to work out for Alexis and I, and I'm not doing Downtown Rams by myself because this is Downtown Rams by myself. You already get me. So we will be doing Downtown Rams only Friday this week. So we'll be doing the Rams-Eagles preview. That will be on Friday, same time, 8 p.m. Eastern time. I just wanted to make that clear, just in case anybody was confused about why it was scheduled for tonight and then it moved. That is that. But looking at my schedule currently, because we can't do Downtown Rams, I will fill in something at that time. In addition to that, we have NFC West Roundtable at 9. And highly recommend, if you guys are Rams fans, to check out the NFC West Roundtable. And real quick, if you haven't already, there's still spots to sign up for the NFC West Roundtable meetup. And this is a huge deal because you get the game day ticket there and it's a whole bunch of stuff. You get the game day ticket, you get to hang out with us, sit with us, party with us. And in addition to that, you also get to watch our live podcast. Okay. So Roundtable, 9 p.m. Eastern time tonight, but Roundtable, Rams, 49ers, Week 5, Thursday night football. I will be at SoFi Stadium with the gang, and that's Z-Bot, that's Jesse, that's Brandon, and that's Mike, right? So be sure Be sure to check out the NFC West Roundtable. I will also throw that link in the chat before we head out of here. And be sure, if you want to, if you can, you have the means for it, I highly recommend signing up and grabbing a ticket, because it is going to be a fun one. So, I'll drop the event promo, and we have it. If you want to sign up, it's literally in the description of that video. But the event promo link I just dropped in the chat. So if you guys want to check that out, definitely do so. But man, can't thank you guys enough. A lot of fun hanging with you. Over 2,000 views. We'll take it to the bank all day, every day. And I'll be back later tonight, I believe. And if I'm not back later tonight, then you guys will see me on the NFC West Roundtable. So this is our first of hopefully many meetups for the NFC West Roundtable. Can't wait to see you guys at the beginning of October for this incredible game. And yeah, I'll see you guys soon. Later, folks.